Alrighty folks, this video is going to be a little different. It's kind of a goulash of all. We're going to be doing a lot of work on Rolly's Essex this round. In real life, I'm pretty deep into body work, but don't have a lot to show for it as of yet. So I've kind of collaged a whole bunch of stuff together with Rolly's car and Buddy's, his old Essex. Some of you guys who've been around for a while will remember it from the old shop and have asked some questions. So anyways, yeah, the video is going to start back a little while. I've kind of been plucking and piecing everything together here and just going to make one nice video for you folks. So I hope you folks can enjoy, and hopefully I have more to show for you body work wise. Sorry, it's going to be a body work video or two coming. Anyways, hope you enjoy the video. Alrighty folks, had supper. Rolly's supposed to come by a little later. We're going to do a little bit of work on his Essex. Going to try to, at least tonight's plan is we want to try to get his suspension sort of in place. You kind of seen it before. We were working on it, and what did we do? We got his whole front end all together, so yeah, we're slowly making progress on his car. Well, the other day, you seen us get all the front end all together on here. Now, we kind of mocked it up, and I took over to the table. Whatever. Anyways, I templated this up. We did discuss it in here. You seen me running with the dial indicator. So I was setting the front end around 10 degrees, which is pretty excessive. Around 7 is what you want. But that's why this cross member looks like it has a bit of a schling to it. But once we get the rear suspension, and I feel by the time the car gets a rake and does everything else, we'll probably get back to about our 7 degrees that we want on the front axle. It's not a terrible thing if there's too much in it, in my eyes. If you run bias ply tires on it, this sucker's just going to want to drive like in a straight line. So anyways, we got that. We're noticing now these steering arms are actually touching into the tire and stuff. So we're going to have to give these a heat and a little tweak, and then we can just redo an alignment on them. But overall, everything's pretty good here so far. These need to get tweaked out. They should go down, but I think with the wishbones, because you can see how far out they are now, we're going to have to pie cut these things down here and bring it up just a wee bit. The end result is we're going to have these, they're going to get welded in here, and we're going to have like a little gusset for it in there. So this thing, you see us fighting a little bit trying to get these thing in, but that's just due to the fact that this thing is like welded to the table, so we're trying to get the suspension to compress down. So I think what we're going to do now is jump to the back, going to cut the mounts off of there. So I think we can reuse some of these just onto the frame portion, where we'll kind of like mount here and we'll do our lower links. And then the upper links will probably go in this vicinity. I think we're going to go over here somewhere and then kind of come off to the frame up there. Do that on both sides. Make another bracket to do those. I think it'll be golden. So this diff, yeah. But there's not a whole lot. Like I say, there's a couple crappy mounts, but I think we'll just cut these off and just kind of trim them up, and then just should be able to just reuse them on the frame pretty easy. Maybe both of them. Maybe we can. I don't know. All I know is I'm not going to leave them on the diff. So whether we use them or not, we're going to either throw them in the stockpile or something. All right, let's get going. Well, that was some good progress last night. So we got the 4 bars, they're tacked in. We haven't touched any of this stuff yet because we're probably gonna just try to play with the ride height and stuff like that now. We're a little worried with the front end that we had to because the frame's welded to the table right now. So we got the cross member in where it should be. We're happy with that. The 4 bars are in. Don't really care about the coils or anything of that stuff right now. The idea is we'll be able to bust it off the table, and we'll probably get some motor mounts. We're gonna loosely just drop that motor in so there's some weight on it. See where this sits down, because you see us, we had to deflate tires and things like that before. So we don't wanna run like little small profile tires. We're sure it's gonna go down. It's got a rake already, but I kind of in my head, I wanna do a visual with the motor, the weight in it, to see if we gotta adjust anything anywhere, because we might have to kick the back up, because I just don't want the car to end up sitting square, or even in a worst case, just squatting a bit would suck. So we wanna set all that up before we actually drop set up the coils in the back, because we can always go up. Well, you could always change the coils and do stuff, but I feel like if we're gonna make all the mounts, I'd like to try to get it right the first shot. So I feel like that's gonna be tonight's plan. And yeah. We'll see when Rolly gets here. Well, I didn't get much done tonight on this thing. We were kind of doing stuff on this thing. So look at that thing, eh? Hey, take a few steps back, check that thing out. So essentially our plan was, and I think we were talking about that before, we wanted to get it sprung on the suspension, see what was happening. We got the motor sitting in there. realized I have no idea what I did with the motor mounts in the day, but they were awful. So anyways, we kind of redid them. They still need work, but the motor's at least sitting, because I know the transmission at least was in the right place. The one motor mount we had to chop off, we moved it. It's good. We ended up cutting the braces out of the truck, the Essex here, and we just have some blocks in the back. It's just which is roughly about where it was sitting on the table. We wanted to see if the rake still stayed the same once we inflated the tires and did all that stuff. And it still is. I don't even know how you would do the math, but it's like two inches over the width of the thing. Like, it has a rake. As you can see, this wheel is on the ground here, and that wheel is like technically on, you know, an invisible plate that we did when we first set up the chassis. So that's good. That gives us like, I don't even know, an insane like 4 or 6 inches, whatever the heck this is, of travel if we set up our rear spring right. So transmission's there, we got our mounts all there. We do notice that the spring is hitting the chassis over here. So the next thing Rolly's got to do is we're actually gonna like lift the frame or just support the frame. We'll pull the hoist, stick it underneath here, kind of support it up. He's gonna cut this out and it's gonna do like a wedge cut inside this chassis. So if this is flipped up, he's gonna cut probably about an inch up. Yeah, probably an inch down and just do a pie cut in, because you can see the spring here. I'll give you a better view. You can see here the spring's got some clearance and stuff, but it's actually touching up underneath here. So we're basically gonna, I think in the big picture, this is gonna get a small little notch here, and it's just gonna get like a wedge cut coming up following the profile of the spring, but giving it room to flex as the travel goes. The other thing we found is these mounts are hardcore rubbing into the tire. So we're gonna have to just heat them, bend them in. We'll have to tweak our steering rod, but that's fine. The next thing I think what we're gonna do, because I think it would give it the nicest look. When I originally did this car, I was gonna give it full running boards and full fender. Rolly's gonna run it open wheel, which is fine. That's cool. But what we're gonna change around here is this gusset. I think we're gonna blow a hole through here, and we're actually gonna mount this heim. We're actually gonna mount it up here. So we're trying to minimize anything hanging under the chassis. At least that's my thought. I want, when we do it, there should be hopefully nothing. Basically, if you were to drag the chassis on something, there shouldn't be anything to snag it, if that makes sense. But overall, though, it's doing good. Making some great progress here. At least the motor fits. We want to do the motor, get some weight on it, and then we're going to see if he's going to do a slight cut in the chassis, and we'll see where it sits. And if there's a chance it's going to rub, we'll chop a little more away, and then put that cross member back in. But yeah. I don't know. Pretty pumped. Anyways, I think that's about as far as we're getting tonight. Rolly's already gone, so it's as far as I'm getting tonight. Tomorrow's plan for me, I don't know where that'll be in the video world here though, is like finishing this rear bumper up on here. So what was happening here was we purposely didn't have this cross brace in because we were talking about that before. I was worried that the spring was going to actually contact the frame, which it did. So basically we took this out, we stepped the frame up for possibility of whatever, like on a big bounce, we don't want anything to basically contact the frame and possibly bend a spring. So we notched that out, we notched this out. We're gonna have to still at some point take this cross member out, and then we're gonna box and close in everything that got cut out on the inside and on the outside. So we're gonna go from the outside, like if you stare at it at this taper, we're probably gonna come from here and do like a wedge this way, and then we just have to fill in this part just to put all the strength back into the frame there. And then, yeah, then we can weld everything solid. Anyways, what we're doing now is we came up with a plan is we're gonna drill this thing out and we're gonna put a slug through the frame so we can actually put our axle into there, or our heim joint will go into there for the bung, and then, you know, then we'll have to still do a split with our bones to correct the steering geometry. But we just want to, my goal I'd like to do is not have anything hanging under the frame. That's the thing I'm trying to shoot for. Anyways, in case you were wondering why we were cutting stuff out, that's why. So basically we're trying to figure with the motor on it what kind of bounce we were going to get, and we were having no bounce because it was contacting already pretty much. Well, a buddy of mine wants to actually start working on his Essex. If you don't remember that one, it's, oh man, that was back in the old shop. We had a sedan or something that we cut up and some random coupe quarters and things like that. Anyways, he wants to start working back on it again, so we have some room in the shop. So I'm gonna go swing around the back. We're gonna go pick up the body, and the plan is to at least just drop it off outside the shop here, and then when he comes by, we can kind of drag it in the shop and figure out what we're doing with it. All right, well, I swung this thing up and over. This is a buddy of mine. This is his Essex. It's kind of just a shoehorn of parts that we had lying around. We had, the story goes, and there is a playlist on this. I'll try to link it here for you if I can remember or not. Anyways, this one was a four-door sedan, and then Rolly originally was turning it into like a family wagon, so it was going to be like a four-door pickup is where we were going with it. Never really got around to it. Then we fast forward. Another buddy wanted to do an old car, so it was just a lot of pile of, I don't know, for lack of better terms, garbage. And then we just kind of started scabbing things together and trying to build the coupe. Now, I believe the Essex, they had coupes, but they were only 3 windows. This one's, I don't even remember all the parts we used. We have these rear quarters, or I got them when I bought, man, I don't know what I bought. My Model A, maybe my Model A Roadster. I got a bunch of spare parts. We think this might be Packard, but I don't know for sure. There's not much to distinguish on there at all. Anyways, we were just trying to match up body lines and do stuff. So I think off the sedan, because this was a 4-door. This is the rear belt line, so we reused that. Originally, this thing had the roof section that I ended up trying to use for the back, or I don't know where I'm in my videos, but it's the back window from a 3738 pickup we had in here. But then we found more parts. I don't know if this is from the Essex, this particular car. It looks like a lot of different parts we did, and we kind of split and did whatever to make things look right. We have, from the doors that we had, or what was left of them, we kind of scabbed in these corner windows. We don't know if that's staying. Like I said, the buddy of mine here, he got a set of these corner windows, so I don't know if his plan is to put these in, but, you know, then we have different body lines, so I'm not sure. This side, when we picked this thing up, it was actually sitting in a creek, so you can see where the rot section just doesn't exist. So there's a lot of having to build and make, which is not that big of a deal. I might have some more doors. I don't know. I have to go hunt around. But here you can see where the rear door section, and then whatever, it just kind of went around. I think the plan is to chop it and do some stuff, but it'll end up being a very roomy coupe. Like, that thing's going to be huge inside. So hopefully soon he's going to get started on it. Basically what he's got to do right now for a while is going to just be a whole lot of welding. Because before we started a chassis, like we have a Model A chassis we're going to use under there and stuff like that. It needs a bit of work, but overall it's, I don't know, it's good bones. Well, kind of. There's nothing to be had for a floor or anything inside of here, but that's easy stuff to make. I kind of want to just get the outside pretty roughly figured out and stiffened up, that would be ideal. Make it a little more complete. So over on this front, Ryder's been making some progress here. He got his whole front end apart, which is good. This thing's like just hammered. This other side's not too bad. And then one fender's actually really good. And I think the other one is pretty hammered up as well, but hey, he's got it apart. We're gonna let him bang away at it. Like I say, I think this fender's really good. This one, I actually have another grill out back. I don't know if you call it a grill, but this front section. So I'm going to, we looked at it, it's pretty good. It doesn't have any of this whammo in the front. There is a little bit of damage over on this side, but if we need to, we can maybe cut this out, or we'll try to straighten the other one. And if it works out good, if not, we'll probably maybe even just cut this out and weld it into the other one. That'd be fine. It is a Fargo grill. Not a Dodge, but I think the Fargo looks nicer. Well, there's really nothing different other than you folks in the States didn't have Fargos. So that's what makes it different. Up in Canada, we had the Fargo. Man, what did we have? We had a bunch of cars you guys didn't have. We had the Fargo, we had an Acadian, which was like the Canadian Nova. We had, I think there was the Malibu. No, what are the other ones? There's a lot of Canadian cars that you folks in the States didn't get. It was a knockoff or a Canadian version of the same car. I just can't think of them all right now. A Beaumont, and I think a Malibu were the same, I think. And then we had the Acadian and the Nova were the same. We had, in this era here, we had the Fargo, and then you guys had the Dodge, so there was that. Yeah, I can't remember. There's anything, some other stuff like that. Anyways, eventually we'll be getting a little more work progress on his too. So a whole lot of time has passed. We're everybody's been busy in life here, but anyways, let's catch you up on what we've all done here. So I believe since the last run, like the motor is in somehow. Well, when this front rails were tweaked a bit or something like that, and the mounts were wrong, so we redid the motor mounts. Motor's all in. Transmission stuff is fine. The front axle, we've assembled all of that. We got the steering in. This one we're going with, it's, like I said it before, right? These are F1 spindles with the F1 kingpins, and they seem to work perfect on a Model A axle. We cut off the knuckles, like I said before, but... and this is like Speedway's Model A, yada yada, axle to go to the 38 Ford or whatever it is, like 38 to 48 or 47, whatever it is, 30s, I don't know, whatever. It's their drop bracket, UE bend bracket, but we are having some clearance issues. We're just gonna heat this up a bit and we'll just pull them both in on both sides, but that's not too big of a deal. Really got these drilled. We welded the slugs in, so these are just going to get bolted straight through. Like you see, once we get some longer bolts, we'll flush that up, be able to zap that all in place. The last he was working on is he was actually getting the body bolted down. Basically, we're going to drill and we'll just kind of go through. We're going to go through the whole chassis, but we're just going to do a carriage bolt underneath, and then we'll be able to put a pad on there. So we're kind of hitting all the points, and then we're going to make another one or two in the back. We did the back as a rear 4-bar. We were going to do coils, like these kind of coils over here, but we're switching it up. We got a set of coilovers, so we're going to go shoot for that. These may be a little beefy, but I did get a set at the swap meet, so we may run those. These look like the springs might be a little too heavy for what we're trying to do. For the steering and stuff, what we're going to do on there is it's a Corvair, no, a Vega box. So we're going to do like cross steer with the Vega box. We do have a bunch of parts, but we haven't dug into it yet. This one's going to get the, we're going to do like the underfloor master cylinder deal. But might have to do a little bit of modifying because the way it sits onto the chassis, it's going to have a bunch of overhang, and I personally don't really like that. I mean, there's going to be some, we can't get around that, but it's sits a little low, so we have to figure that whole scenario out. But other than that, like this is again junk motor. This was in my truck before, but like the floor pans, everything have been done. The only difference that we did in the chassis inside the cab here is I had this extended out more because my original plan for this car was to have a back seat and all that stuff. But I think the way we redid the kick and the suspension and stuff, we moved it forward. So whatever that is. 10 inches or so, we've kind of moved everything up ahead. So we're going to have to redo some of the floor panels and stuff like that in the car. But so I think that just about gets us caught up on all the projects over here. At least on the Essex front. I'm thinking Rolly and I are going to get back on this one pretty quick soon. It's very close to being a roller. So at that point, it's, I think we'll be able to get the chassis of the Essex. Hopefully he's kind of boogied along on there, and we're going to start on the floor section of it. And then we can actually get the chassis out. We do have one as a Model A chassis, but it's, you know, one of the horns is missing, things like that. We're not sure if we're going to go with Suicide or what we're going to do with that one yet. But I know the notch we took off of this car we'll probably be able to reuse on that chassis, like the kick up that was on there. We could probably reuse it on that car. Maybe we'll use the coils on there. We don't know. This one's going to be like a budget build. Well, actually, they're all budget builds here, really. But we're using a lot of stuff we have lying around here to do that one as well. But anyways, hopefully Rollies will get being a roller pretty soon, and then we'll be able to get his car chassis. We'll probably put it on there and kind of get it all set up as well. It's kind of the plan in the long run. I'm chooching along. I don't know if my truck's going to be ready for back to the 50s, but yeah, we got other things to drive, so it's not the end of the world. Anyways, yeah, long story short, I think that is where we are for shop updates. I know the video's old, actually got a lot of old elements to it because, yeah, there's still snow outside and all that stuff. But anyways, hopefully you folks enjoy. Hopefully you want to see more updates of this stuff. That'd be great. But I think for now, I am going to leave it at that. Without giving you a sneak peek at the truck, we just have lots and lots of dust everywhere. So you can tell it's been a nice sanding party. We're just having a great time doing body work and stuff. I super enjoy it. No. Anyways, folks, as always, I want to thank you all for watching, and we will catch you on the next one. Later.